Hey there, Alfredo with the Life of Chai back again for another exciting video. This video is so, oh my God, tasty. Today we're going to be making clam steamers. Wait a minute, I know what you're thinking. Life of Chai is predominantly vegan and vegetarian, but today a couple of my recipes do involve seafood, and today I'm going to present one of those to you. Okay, well let's, oh yeah, and the other thing was, I wanted to mention that I moved to the Pacific Northwest a few years ago, and I thought clam steamers were a product of this part of the country. I found out later otherwise, and we'll be getting into the history while we're cooking. So let's look at some of the ingredients, shall we? Of course, we're going to start with clams, and these are Manila clams, fresh from the Puget Sound area. Today we're going to be calling this dish Beyond Clam Steamers. I'm going to include, this is a cooked halibut fillet. I cooked a few extra in the oven the other day, and this is actually what gave me the inspiration for this video. And then we'll be adding some wild-caught Patagonian shrimp there. So typically steamers would involve garlic, parsley, lemon, and white wine. Okay, so we're going to go beyond. We're going beyond with the fish. We're going to go beyond and add a lot of butter, onion, and tomato, plus sriracha, along with salt and pepper. Okay, well, let's get this going here. Turn on. So yeah, lots of butter. Butter's good. Start with some butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a broth, and this broth we're going to use to cook everything in. And what I like to do is usually I'll put butter, and then I'll add my onions. And I don't cut them up too fine. I like to have a little bit of visual onion in there. So what we're actually, this is going to be, if it was just the clams, a pound of clams, this would be a portion for one person, okay? Adding the shrimp, adding the fish, and again, you could add a fresh piece of fish and let that cook in there. That would release even more flavor. Another version you could do is adding mussels or scallops. Let's add some garlic to this. Oh yeah, we like garlic. Let this simmer just a little bit. It's always nice to simmer your onions and garlic before you add tomato. Got this new induction, and it's really working out nice. Yeah, we'll just put it all in there. Again, the tomato's going to release juices as well. I don't want this to dry up, so at a point, I'm going to be adding the wine. And that's going to be the next thing I'm going to tell you about. This wine, you don't have to spend a lot on wine, but you do want a dry white wine, Chardonnay or Sauvignon blanc. I find that something between $10 and $20 is good. Something that you're willing to drink, okay? So you're going to want to drink this and actually pair it with the meal. And when you pair the same wine that the broth has been created with, then it becomes another truly amazing. I'm going to put that wine in before it. So again, we don't worry about how much wine. It's probably going to be about a cup of wine. Yeah. And so again, we're going to create a broth here and let those tomatoes simmer just a little bit. Of all the seafood, the clams cook the quickest. So we certainly don't want to overcook the clams, so we're going to put those in last. I'm going to put this halibut fillet in first, right there in the middle. Get it warming up. Smell that wine simmering off. We can throw in our salt. Yeah, maybe some. I'm going to save the pepper for last. How about the sriracha? You can also, if you don't have sriracha, you can also use pepper flakes. That is if you want it spicy. You can make this any way you want. You can smell that wine cooking off. Onions are looking good. Tomatoes are starting to cook down. How about a little bit of parsley? Parsley releases a lot of flavor in itself. Save the rest to top it. We put the prawns in. So buying shrimp, prawns with the shell releases so much flavor. Turn it down just a little bit. And as soon as those prawns begin to cook, we're going to add, I think I'm going to flip this. That's okay. It'll cook like that. I'm going to watch those prawns just a little bit. As soon as they start to turn white on one side, I'm going to add the clams and flip these. Let's flip them now. It's going to be cooking a little while longer, so we got some time there. Okay, let's add a little bit more wine. Vanilla clams. So I had these soaking overnight in salt water, and they release a lot of the stuff that you really don't want to eat inside. That's the sound we want to hear. Clams. So part of the big part of this is that broth. You're going to love that broth. You're going to want to have extra broth when you're done with the seafood. Dip it up. So a little bit of the history of this. A little bit of the history of clam steamers. When I first started to research clam steamers, again, I thought it was from the Pacific Northwest. I moved up here to Clam, Washington, started working at Carmen Vineyard, and this was on the menu. Super popular, and I'd never heard of it. So again, I thought it was from the Pacific Northwest. But researching clam steamers, I found predominantly steamed clams. And again, that's just with garlic, parsley, and lemon, and very little else. All over the country, northeast part of the U.S., northwest part of the U.S. Clams are hugely popular here because they grow wild, and clamming is a pastime of many people here. So they are popular here on both northwest and northeast, but they're also popular in Italy and in France. Now that's where you're going to find a little bit more variation. That's where you're going to find the addition of the tomato and the onion. And so, but again, we're going beyond clam steamers. We're adding the onion and tomato. We're adding sriracha. And again, if you want to add, if you don't want the fish, you could add scallops. If you could also add, instead of the prawns, you could add mussels. So we're just waiting for these clams to open here. I'm going to cover it. So again, we're gonna serve this with a really nice crusty baguette, warm, crusty. You have it warmed in the oven first. Again, pair it with the same wine that you. And I actually started making this with Chardonnay years ago, and I prefer actually Sauvignon Blanc, but I couldn't find my favorite brand last night. So, and then we're gonna put it in a bowl. So I'm getting ready to plate it. Just waiting for those clams to open. There they go. So when you're cooking clams, when you buy clams, they should be closed. If they're open, you don't want to use them. If they don't open when you cook them, if they're closed and they don't open when you cook them, you might not want to use them. So it could take about, I don't think we can pause that, so we'll have to just, we're going to cook them just a little bit longer. I would say about 90% of my recipes, and I just completed my recipe book of 150, 90% are vegetarian, mostly vegan. I have about 10 or 15 seafood, and they're predominantly salmon, and they're starting to open better here. Again, if they don't open, we're not going to use them, we're not going to eat them. I think we're almost ready to start plating this. So what I'm gonna do is start with this. Put some prawns in there. A couple that are open. Put this nice big piece of halibut, which is falling apart. Let me grab a anyway, that's going to fall apart. I like to break it up when I'm for the presentation. I'd like to put it in whole, but again, I like to break it up and mix it in with everything as I eat it. I'm going to get all this in there. And you can rearrange things a little bit if you want to make it look nice. Play with it a little bit. You're always, that's your, as a chef, as a presenter, that's your, pour some of that in there. Again, that broth is to die for. Some of these tomatoes and onions. And there you have it. This one open too. But there you have it. Again, you can arrange things a little bit. You got prawns. Beautiful. Plate it with a little bread. We're good to go. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. More videos to come. I hope you enjoy. Try this. You're going to love it. Beyond clam steamers. Like, subscribe, all those good things, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again.